Hello everyone, hope you are doing great. Welcome to my channel, and today we will discuss about the anatomy of the middle ear, its walls and their features in detail. In the previous video we have discussed about the external ear, that is auricle and external acoustic meatus in detail, and today we will see the middle ear. As you know, the three parts of the ear, that is external ear containing pinna and meatus, then middle ear, then inner ear. So we are going to discuss about the middle ear in detail under following headings. First we will see what is middle ear, then we will see the parts of the middle ear cleft, then we will see what is tympanic cavity, its shape, subdivisions of tympanic cavity, then we will see the measurements, boundaries of tympanic cavity and each wall of the boundary in detail with the features. So the middle ear is a part of the ear which is concerned with the conduction and intensification or amplification of the sound vibrations directed from the ear pinna and meatus by the virtue of its contents like ossicles, their muscles. And walls of tympanic cavity are of surgical importance to approach the middle ear in case of middle ear pathologies like suppurative otitis media, cholesteatoma, otosclerosis, etc. Then coming to the middle ear cleft, the middle ear cleft consists of three parts, that is tympanic cavity, middle ear proper, eustachian tube anteriorly and mastoid air cell system postero-superiorly. So when you see the sagittal section of the right middle ear here, you can see the middle ear in the center, and postero-superiorly the middle ear communicates with the mastoid antrum, antero-superiorly it communicates with the nasopharynx via auditory tube. You can see there eustachian tube is there. So these three are the parts of middle ear cleft. Tympanic cavity or middle ear proper is an irregular air-filled space hollowed out in the center of the petrous part of the temporal bone, lined by mucosa. It is lined by mucosa and it lies between the external auditory meatus laterally and the inner ear medially. So it is a constricted part between these two, and it lies at the intersection between the two important axes. One is the lateromedial, that is between the external acoustic meatus and internal auditory canal, and one more is postero-anterior between the mastoid antrum and eustachian tube. So it lies at the intersection of these two axes and these four structures. When you see the panoramic view of the right ear, you can see the right middle ear there. Postero-superiorly it is related to mastoid antrum present in the mastoid process. Antero-superiorly it communicates with nasopharynx via eustachian tube. Laterally it is separated from the external acoustic meatus by tympanic membrane. Medially it is separated from the inner ear by the medial wall where you see the promontory. So lateromedially between the external acoustic meatus and internal acoustic meatus, postero-anteriorly between the mastoid antrum and eustachian tube. When you see the coronal section of the tympanic cavity, it is biconcave in shape. It has a central constricted part, upper and lower expanded parts. So upper and lower expanded parts are called as epitympanum and hypotympanum, and a constricted part which lies in front or which lies medial to tympanic membrane is called as mesotympanum. You can see there. But for descriptive purposes, the tympanic cavity is considered as a box with four walls, a roof and a floor. So totally 6 walls are there. But because of the convexity of the medial and lateral walls, the middle ear cavity is constricted at its center, that is the mesotympanum part. So when you see the right middle ear like a box, it has 6 walls. So remember, only for schematic representation it is considered as a box, but it is not at all like a box. It is a very small hollow cavity which is having the peculiar features of each wall. So when you see, the roof is formed by tegmen tympani, the lateral wall is by tympanic membrane, the floor is by jugular bulb, and anteriorly it is having the petrous bone with the carotid artery, eustachian tube and tensor tympani muscle, posteriorly mastoid antrum, and above the opening to mastoid antrum is called as auritus, and medially it has internal ear. Coming to the measurements, the width of the middle ear cavity is 2 mm at the center, that is mesotympanum, 6 mm in the attic or epitympanum, 4 mm in the hypotympanum, whereas in sagittal plane The vertical and the anteroposterior length is around 15 millimeter. So you can see here the coronal section of the right middle ear showing laterally the tympanic membrane, that is the concave tympanic membrane, and you can see above and below you are seeing epitympanum and hypotympanum, and you can see the measurements 2 millimeter in the mesotympanum, 6 millimeter in the epitympanum, 4 millimeter in the hypotympanum. Whereas vertical and anteroposterior length is 15 millimeter, that is lateral wall, tympanic membrane is there, medial wall is formed by the promontory, that is the bulge by the basal turn of cochlea of the inner ear, and above you can say tegment tympanic, and below the jugular bulb. And when you draw imaginary line from the roof and floor of the external acoustic meatus related to tympanic membrane, you will get epitympanum and hypotympanum respectively, and mesotympanum exactly by medial to the tympanic membrane. So the part of the middle ear lying in front of tympanic membrane is called as mesotympanum. So imagine like a box, lateral wall is by tympanic membrane, roof is by tegment tympani, floor is by the jugular bulb, medial wall is by the promontory, posterior wall is by the mastoid, and above opening called as auditus to mastoid antrum, anterior wall is by the petrous part. So you can see like this, and when you view it from the external acoustic meatus, you can see the tympanic membrane. So clinical examination, you will see only tympanic membrane lying obliquely at 40 degrees with the floor of the external acoustic meatus, and tympanic membrane is the only part of the middle ear visible by clinical examination that you see here. And when you see the tympanic membrane, it is convex medially and concave laterally, and it has two folds, and a middle bulged convex portion is called as umbo, where the handle of malleus is attached. You can see the three ossicles, malleus, incus and stapes. These three help in the amplification of the sound vibrations coming from external ear to middle ear. And stapes is attached to the promontory or just around the promontory. And tympanic cavity, as we have discussed, it is divided into three parts. Epitympanum lies above the malleolar folds and is separated from the mesotympanum and hypotympanum by mucosal membranes and folds. So I told you it is not just a hollow cavity, it is lined by mucosal folds. It is lined by mucosa and having many mucosal folds. So you can notice there the imaginary line drawn from the roof and floor of the external acoustic meatus corresponding to the margins of the tympanic membrane divide the cavity into epi, meso and hypo. Mesotympanum lies opposite to the tympanic membrane, medial to tympanic membrane. Hypotympanum lies below the level of inferior part of the tympanic sulcus, lodging the tympanic membrane, and is continuous with the mesotympany above, whereas epitympanum is continuous with the mesotympanum below, and posterior is continuous with the mastoid antrum. So coming to the walls, how many walls are there? 6 walls, because it is roughly cuboidal. It has a roof, floor, anterior wall, posterior wall, medial wall and lateral wall. So the different walls have different names based on the content. The lateral wall is formed by tympanic membrane. The inferior wall is also called as floor or jugular wall. The posterior wall is called as mastoid wall. The superior wall is also called as roof or tegmen. Anterior wall is called as the carotid wall, as it is related to carotid artery. Whereas the medial wall is related to cochlea, is called as cochlear wall. So you can see, imagine in middle ear like a box there. The roof is there, formed by tegment tympani. You are seeing the right middle ear from the anterior view. Laterally you can see the tympanic membrane. Medially you are seeing the promontory, and posteriorly you are seeing the facial nerve there and auditus to mastoid antrum, and inferiorly you are seeing jugular bulb, and anteriorly you will see the auditory tube there. So you are seeing the right middle ear now here from the lateral view, that is the tympanic membrane is taken out and you are viewing from the lateral side. So you can see the roof, tegment tympani, whereas the floor is by jugular bulb, anterior wall is by the carotid artery there, the petrous part will be there, and opening of auditory tube. Above it you will see tensa tympani, posteriorly you will see the mastoid wall, and in the upper part you will see opening to mastoid antrum, that is also called as auditus to mastoid antrum, whereas you can see the bony canal which is lodging the facial nerve there, whereas the medial wall you will see the promontory formed by the bulge of the basal terminal of cochlea containing tympanic plexus over it, and you can see the oval window and round window, posterior and posterior inferior to the promontory, and above the oval window you will see the oblique part of the facial nerve, and above it you will see lateral semicircular canal. So these are the different walls and their relations and structures. This is a schematic representation, remember that, not actual representation. So coming to the lateral wall. So lateral wall of tympanic cavity is partly bony and partly membranous, and above and below it is formed by the bony walls, that is bony lateral wall of the epitympanum superiorly, tympanic membrane, that is membranous part in center, and bony lateral wall of the hypotympanum inferiorly. You can see here the coronal section of the right middle ear. You can see the tympanic membrane there in brown line. Above you can see that is the bony lateral wall of the epitympanum, tympanic membrane, and bony lateral wall of hypotympanum. So in the lateral wall, the tympanic membrane is the only part accessible to clinical examination from the middle ear, and is the site of most middle ear pathologies. So and it also represents the classical entry site to the middle ear during ear surgery. So you can see laterally you are seeing the right middle ear from the anterior view, laterally you are seeing the tympanic membrane with the malleus and incus. So the lateral epitympanic wall is bony and it is wedge shaped, and its sharp inferior portion is called as scutum or shield, which gives attachment to pars flaccida of the tympanic membrane, and it is easily eroded by cholesteatoma. It is the first bony part to be involved in case of cholesteatoma. You can see there the red margin is indicating the sharp triangular bony portion, wedge shaped bony portion called as scutum, and you can see in the CT scan here, right here, arrow is showing the scutum, the star shape is attic, that is malleus, hypotympanum, you can see external acoustic canal there. Then the tympanic ring, it is a horseshoe shaped or C-shaped bony ring, and a medial most part of the tympanic bone, also known as Gerlach's ligament. Tympanic sulcus, it is the inner gutterous portion of the tympanic ring. It holds the annulus of tympanic membrane, and between this horseshoe shaped notch you will see notch of Ravenous, that is superior deficient portion. There you can see the left middle ear viewed from external acoustic canal. 1 and 2 represent the anterior and post tympanic spines, that is notch of Ravenous where pars flaccida will be there, that is the handle of malleus. This is tympanic annulus, anterior and posterior part, C-shaped or horseshoe shaped. So notch of Ravenous is between the anterior and posterior tympanic spine. Now you are seeing the middle view of the lateral of left middle ear. You can see the arrow is showing the annulus, that is the handle of malleus, what you are seeing, umbo, and this is the tympanic ring, that is incus, and that is eustachian tube opening, that is adytus to maxillary antrum, fossa incudis, and the short process of the incus you can see there. So what is tympanic membrane? It is a oval semi-transparent pearly grey trilaminar membrane. So it is placed obliquely, and it has a maximum diameter of 9 to 10 millimeter, 0.1 millimeter in thickness, and position it is placed obliquely at 40 degree with the floor of external acoustic meatus, and it is shaped like a saucer, and it is placed in tympanic sulcus. So when you see here the tympanic membrane, it has the 3 layers, it is trilaminar, it is one of the structures derived from all the 3 germ layers, ecto, endo and mesoderms. You can see there the anterior and posterior malleolar folds emanating from the handle of malleus, and you can see the peripheral part there. The part between the 2 malleolar folds is called as pars flaccida, remaining portion is called as pars tensa. You can notice the oblique position of tympanic membrane, upper end is lateral, lower end is medial, and the lower end makes a 40 degree angle with the floor of external acoustic meatus. It is obliquely positioned as if it is catching the sound waves from the external acoustic meatus. When you view the medial part of the lateral wall of the right middle ear, you can see the attachment of the malleus there, handle of malleus, and behind incus, and you can see the tensor tympan is attached there to the handle of malleus, And medial to the malleus, you can see the chorda tympani nerve passing through the fibrous and mucous layers of the tympanic membrane. You can see how the tympanic membrane is lodged in tympanic sulcus. So, what are the parts? Sharpnel divided the tympanic membrane into two parts, pars flaccida above malleolar folds, and rest of the membrane is called as pars tensa. And it has two surfaces, lateral concave and medial convex, which is bulging into the mesotympanum. You can notice there. So, lateral concave part is towards external acoustic meatus, as if catching the signals like a satellite signals receiver of the dish TV, and a medial convex portion in the center is called as umbo. So, where the handle of malleus is attached and is retracted medially, forming a convex point called as umbo. So, these are the two surfaces and two parts of the tympanic membrane. You can see when you visualize the right middle ear from the external acoustic meatus via otoscope, you will see like this handle of malleus and cone of light, and you also can see lateral process of malleus, malleolar folds, pars flaccida and pars tensa. And as I told you, it is a trilemnar. It has three layers: outer cuticular derived from ectoderm, intermediate fibrous from the mesoderm, and inner mucus from the endodermal pouch. Arterial supply: the cuticular part is supplied by deep auricular branch of the maxillary artery, whereas the mucosal part is by the antetympanic branch of the maxillary artery. Even stylomuscular branch will supply that. Venous drainage is by external jugular, transverse and trigemic venous plexus, whereas cuticular part is by the auriculotemporal and auricular branch of vagus. The mucus part is by the glossopharyngeal nerve. You can see, you are seeing the medial view of the lateral wall or tympanic membrane of the right middle ear. You can see there the artery is coming from the petrotympanic fissure through the Glazerian fissure, antetympanic artery, branch of first part of maxillary artery, and posteriorly you are seeing stylomuscular artery, branch of posterior auricular artery, entering the middle ear via stylomuscular foramina and supplies the tympanic membrane via posterior canalicus for the chorda tympani. And you will see three openings in the medial surface of the lateral wall of tympanic cavity, that is tympanic caliculi. First one is petrotympanic fissure, also called as Glazerian fissure. It transmits chorda tympani. It also receives an anterior ligament and an antetympanic branch of maxillary artery. We have discussed about this petrotympanic fissure in detail in the Norma Basilis. Please go and see. Chorda tympani nerve, as you know, we have discussed in the infratemporal fossa. It is a branch of facial nerve. So, it comes out of the middle ear via the canal of Hooguer, which is part of the petrotympanic fissure, and it runs medial to the handle of malleus between the fibrous and mucous layers of tympanic membrane and leaves the tympanic cavity via posterior canaliculi and joins the facial nerve in the facial canal. So, the chorda tympani nerve runs posteriorly between the fibrous and mucous layers and reaches the posterior bony canal medial to tympanic sulcus and runs downwards and medially to join the facial nerve through the facial recess. Remember that. So, the chorda tympani has a very close relation with the tympanic membrane. It runs between the two layers of tympanic membrane there, and it enters the tympanic cavity via anterior canalicus and leaves via posterior canalicus, also known as arteria chordae posterius, and runs downwards and medially to join the vertical part of the facial nerve in the fallopian canal, which is located in the posterior wall of tympanic cavity. So, the point of entry of chorda tympani into the facial nerve bundle is usually at the level of lower 1/3 of the facial canal on its anterior wall. That is very, very important because it goes through the facial recess, and you should be careful during cortical mastectomy. The fibrous strands of the tympanomuscular suture can be confused with the chorda tympani. You should not get confused. You should know the proper course of the chorda tympani in the middle ear, how it runs, and this nerve carries the taste sensation from the anterior to the tongue and also provides secutomotor fibers to the submandibular ganglion. Coming to the roof is formed by the tegmen tympani. It separates it from the middle cranial fossa. So, it's a thin bony plate separating the middle cranial fossa from the tympanic cavity. You can see there it has the foraminas for greater and lesser petrosal nerves. It is formed by both petrous and squamous portions, and the petrous squamous suture line may not fuse until adult life and can provide route of access for the infection to the meninges and brain, and veins from tympanic cavity run to the superior petrosal sinus via this route. You can see this is a schematic representation. Usually it will be slopy. You can see here the roof of the left middle ear viewed from the medial side. You can see tegmen tympani covering the tympanic cavity, tegmen tuberi covering the eustachian tube, tegmen antere covering the mastoid antrum there, that is tympanic membrane. You are seeing the medial view of the left side middle ear, and above there is a middle cranial fossa. You can notice the slopy part. And next, floor is formed by the jugular bulb, the dome of the jugular bulb, and it is narrow, not like a box. Floor is very narrow. Its thickness varies according to the height of the jugular fossa, and this floor is very important in case of retrofacial approach to the middle ear. So, classical entry is by tympanic membrane, but we can enter the middle ear by not damaging tympanic membrane also. So, this is one route, retrofacial approach through this part. You can see there the star is denoting the instrument passing between the jugular bulb and facial nerve, reaching the lateral wall, that is tympanic membrane. So, jugular bulb is there, internal jugular vein forming the floor of the tympanic cavity. So, occasionally the floor may be deficient and a jugular bulb may be seen within the tympanic cavity covered by mucous membrane, and high jugular bulb sometimes produces pulsatile tinnitus, that is a ringing sensation in the ear. And at the junction of floor and medial wall you will see tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve coming via small opening and forming tympanic plexus. You can see there. From the anterior wall you are seeing the superior and inferior keratotympanic nerves, whereas the medial you can now see the arrow is showing, that is the Jacobson nerve, tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve. Between the medial wall and the floor, it forms a part of tympanic plexus, which is in the pathway of otic ganglion. You can see over the promontory, it forms a tympanic plexus. And you are seeing the right middle ear from above. You can see the jugular bulb there, that is the Jacobson nerve, J is Jacobson nerve, and you are seeing vertical part and horizontal part of the internal cavitary artery. Medial you are seeing round window promontory, and laterally that is tympanic membrane with the bulge. So, you can see you are seeing the right middle ear from above, that is eustachian tube. Coming to the anterior wall. The anterior wall of tympanic cavity is again very narrow. It is formed by converging medial and lateral walls. That is why I told you it is not like a schematic diagram like a cube. It is very different in reality. So, medial and lateral walls are converging and they form an acute angle there. Anterior wall is completely formed by petrous bone and can be divided into three portions: lower 1/3, middle 1/3 and upper 1/3. In the lower 1/3 you will see the vertical part of the internal cavitary artery. Then it takes a bend there. You can see the lower 1/3, the internal cavitary artery surrounded by the sympathetic plexus. From this sympathetic plexus you will get two nerves, superior and inferior keratotympanic nerves. You can see this is the anterior of the right middle ear seen from the lateral side. You can see 1, 2, 3, upper 1/3, middle 1/3 and lower 1/3. So, the carotid part, that is lower 1/3, is pierced by the superior and inferior keratotympanic nerves, which join with the Jacobson nerve to form tympanic plexus, which is a part of the pathway of the otic ganglion. Middle 1/3 has the tympanic orifice for the eustachian tube. The opening is oval and around 5 into 2 millimeter in size. Just above this opening for eustachian tube, you will see tensor tympani muscle. And upper 1/3, usually it is a part of epitympanum. It may contain the anterior epitympanic sinus and it forms a niche for the anterior ossicular head parts and sometimes hide the residual cholesteatoma. So that is about the anterior wall. Three parts, remember that above, that is epitympanic part. Coming to the posterior wall is wider above than below. It gradually tapers down and forms the bridge between the lateral wall and medial wall. It is the highest wall and measures around 14 millimeter. Upper one third is a large irregular opening, you will see, triangular opening, that is auritus to mastoid antrum. You can see there, that is the auritus to mastoid antrum. Lower two third is bony mastoid wall containing the vertical part of the facial nerve. You can see the medial view of the lateral wall of left middle ear. You can see upper one third is auritus containing the fossa incudus and short process of incus. Lower two third is mastoid, and you can see the incudal buttress divides the posterior wall into upper one third called as auritus or opening to mastoid antrum, lower two third bony, and it is narrow or conical from above downwards, and it bridges the medial wall and lateral wall. Lower two third is posterior bony wall of the retrotympanum. The part behind the mesotympanum is called as retrotympanum. And below auritus you will see a small depression, that is fossa incudus, which houses the short process of incus and its ligament and separates the posterior bony wall into upper one third and lower two third, as we have seen in the image there. That is the endoscopic image. You can see again the fossa incudus is there, housing the short process of incus. Upper one third is auritus, posterior one third is, so upper one third is lower two third is mastoid, bony wall. So below fossa incudus, medial to the opening of quad tympani to the nerve, there is a pyramid. A small hollow conical projection is called as pyramid, medial to the facial nerve. And posterior wall presents three eminences. It presents the eminences, ridges and spaces there. And these three eminences, pyramidal, caudal and styloid, together called as the styloid complex. Now you are seeing the posterior wall of the right middle ear. From the anterior view, you can see the oblique and straight vertical part of the facial nerve. Medial to facial nerve, you are seeing the pyramid giving attachment to the stapedius muscle there, pyramidal eminence, and you can see how the quad tympani is going downwards and medially to join the facial nerve from lateral to medial, join the vertical part of the facial nerve by passing through posterior canaliculus. You can see above you are seeing auritus, then you are seeing pyramidal eminence, and you can see there the vertical part of the facial nerve, that is the pyramidal eminence attaching to the stapedius muscle, and you can see the branch of facial nerve is going through the bony canal there to supply stapedius, and that is quad tympani, that is the nerve to stapedius, passing to the pyramidal eminence. And you can see there in the posterior wall of the right middle ear viewed from the lateral side, three eminences, that is the ponticulus, the bony ridge connecting the pyramidal eminence to promontory, and that is pyramidal ridge, caudal ridge, and number 2 is subiculum connecting the styloid eminence to promontory. Promontory is the bulge on the medial wall. So here you are seeing posterior wall and medial wall from the lateral wall side, and you can see the facial nerve there, oblique part and the vertical part. Medial to vertical part of facial nerve you are seeing pyramidal eminence, then below you are seeing caudal eminence and styloid eminence. These three are called as styloid complex. When you view the posterior wall from the anterior side of the right middle ear, you are seeing three eminences there, pyramidal, caudal and styloid, and the facial nerve is running downwards and laterally. So the space between the caudal eminence and pyramidal eminence is called as facial recess there. Above you will see auritus and fossa incudus, and medial to facial nerve you are seeing pyramidal eminence, and below styloid eminence and sinus tympani there in the posterior wall, and above the sinus tympani you are seeing posterior tympanic sinus between ponticulus and subiculum. What is ponticulus? Bony ridge connecting the pyramidal eminence to promontory, to the medial wall. And what is subiculum? Bony ridge connecting the styloid eminence to the promontory. So between ponticulus and subiculum you are seeing sinus tympanic. So the canal within the pyramidal eminence curves downwards and backwards to join the descending portion of facial nerve canal. And facial recess is a groove which lies between the pyramid with facial nerve and annulus of tympanic membrane, that is lateral to facial nerve. You can see that is entire thing is facial recess. Again it is divided into facial sinus above and lateral tympanic sinus below by a caudal ridge there. Whereas medial to facial nerve, you are seeing sinus tympani and posterior tympanic sinus, and facial recess is shallow lower down where the facial nerve canal forms a slight prominence on the posterior wall. Facial recess is bounded medially by the facial nerve, laterally by the tympanic annulus. It contains the cauda tympani nerve running obliquely, that is downwards and medially through it. And cauda always runs medial to tympanic membrane between the two layers, fibrous and mucus. And angle between the facial nerve and cauda tympani allows the space for posterior tympanotomy. So you can access the middle ear without disrupting the tympanic membrane. And a sinus tympani is a posterior extension of mesotympanum, lies deep to both, lies medial to facial nerve and deep to or posterior to promontory. Sinus tympani, you can see there on the right side, that is sinus tympani between ponticulus and subiculum. What is ponticulus? Bony ridge between pyramidal eminence and promontory. Subiculum is bony ridge between shard eminence and promontory. And sometimes the ear cells may be extended into this part and may be inaccessible for the surgery. So medial wall of the sinus tympani becomes the continuation of the posterior portion of medial wall of tympanic cavity, where it is related to round window. You can see there, you are seeing the medial wall of the right middle ear from the lateral side, that is ponticulus, subiculum, and that is sinus tympani. You can see oval window and round window, posterior superior and posterior inferior to promontory, that is pyramidal eminence, seventh nerve. You can see sinus tympani is medial to the facial nerve and lateral to facial nerve is above. You are seeing the lateral tympanic sinus or posterior tympanic sinus, you can say. So cholesteatoma sometimes may extend into the sinus tympani and it is very difficult to eradicate if it is encroaching this area. So retrofacial approach to this region is via mastoid, is not possible because of the posterior semicircular canal. And coming to the most important, that is medial wall, what you see here, promontory covered by tympanic plexus, posterior superior to promontory you will see oval window, posterior inferior to it is a round window, and you will see oblique part of facial nerve and also part of lateral semicircular canal, and in front you will see processus cochleoformis from the epitympanic part around which the 10th tympani will wind. So medial wall separates the tympanic cavity from the internal ear. Promontory is a rounded elevation formed by the basal turn of cochlea and usually has grooves because of the nerves over it, that is promontory there. So sinus tympani lies behind the promontory and medial to facial nerve. So the tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve may come via canal and form tympanic plexus over promontory. So posterior superiorly you will see oval window. It is kidney shaped opening, connects tympanic cavity with the vestibule, usually closed by foot plate of stapes, surrounded by annular ligament. You can see there, oval window, closed by foot plate of stapes. This is the coronal section of the right middle ear. You can see there, foot plate of stapes is closing that oval window, and below you are seeing a round window having two membranes, false and true membranes, 1 and 2. It acts as a decompressor for the oval window. So oval window, that bony part is there, can be of varying width depending on the position of the facial nerve, and round window position is below and behind the oval window. So it is separated from the oval window by the subiculum and sinus tympani there. You can see oval window. This is promontory. So three eminences you have already seen in the posterior wall, ponticulus and subiculum 1 and 2. And you can see there, oval window and round window are separated from each other by ponticulus, subiculum and sinus tympani. So you can see the ponticulus, subiculum. Ponticulus runs from pyramid, subiculum from the starred eminence to the promontory. So round window opening is usually triangular, and membrane is usually seen as the overhanging edge of the promontory, behind the promontory, covered by mucosa. So it tends to cover towards scad tympani, and you can see the facial nerve canal above the promontory and oval window in an antro-post direction in an oblique way. It has the micro dehiscences. In case of disease, the bone is thin and the straight blood vessels are clearly seen. That gives way to the facial nerve. Otherwise, no arteries in the middle ear are straight. So facial nerve canal is marked anteriorly by the process called as processus cochleariformis, around which the tendon of tension tympani muscle turn laterally to have attachment to handle of malleus, and behind oval window facial nerve starts running inferiorly. So this is in detail about the walls of the middle ear. Thanks for watching. Please mention your comments or opinions so that I can better when I come to you for next time with the next video. So in next we will see the different parts. Thank you.